We'll see what that looks like a week, 2, 3, 4, 8 weeks from now, whatever. But what are you guys expecting out of Fernando, given the situation that he is stepping into now?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, go
I'll
ahead.
take it. I think when you look at Fernando Mendoza's expectations, I kind of look at where I think it's going to be a process where they're going to have to ease him in. Where you look at, let's look at for example, last year how the Giants had Russell Wilson and then he turned to Jackson Dart. I think it's going to be something similar to that. And I think with that being said, you're going to have to temper your expectations just a little bit in terms of like the numbers he produced because we don't know when that time comes. It might be 4 games in the season. It might be 8 games in the season. We really don't know. And I think the biggest thing with Fernando is this, like, I see playing. If the Raiders are with Kirk Cousins and they are looking like a playoff team, right? You have to roll with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
It would be crazy not to do that because you were hurt even Mendoza, not only just a team. If you hurt Mendoza, if you throw Mendoza out there because you feel like I got to throw a rookie out there, and then he struggles, and then he looks like the whole weight is on his shoulders because he struggled, and now we're out of the playoff picture because they want to go to me instead of rely on Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I think you just can't do that. So, if
Yeah.
the Raiders are playing really good football and they're winning,
Yeah.
then you can go to, I think you have to ride with Kirk Cousins. There's no choice. But in terms of Fernando, I think when you're going to see him on the field, and this is just my prediction, I think it's going to come in 2 ways. It's like the Raiders, like they already know, like, hey, this is not going to be our year. We're going to be competitive, but it's not going to be our year. And then, they make the call. Even if Kirk Cousins is playing average football, if he's playing average football, you just make that call, say, hey, we gotta look at our future. And I think Kirk Cousins came into this situation, understand that is a possibility. Or if, Kirk Cousins is struggling, he did last time as a full-time starter, he had 16 interceptions. This is a guy who, as good as he's been in the league, he's had issues turning the ball over, right? So if we're in a situation,
don't want to hear about turnovers right now. They had plenty of that last
Hey,
year.
bro, it's tired of those, man.
Yeah,
so if you look at a situation where the team is like, the team is struggling, Kirk Cousins is throwing picks, you're going to have to make that move sooner rather than later. But I think the best path forward is going to be similar to like how the Giants approached Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart. It's just a matter of, I think it's going to come down to how this team is playing overall is when we're going to see him on the field.
Yeah. No,
I would say like exactly. I agree with you, but I feel like the expectations, at least for me, like in a perfect world, is we don't see Fernando Mendoza in year one because at all.
Oh, okay, nice.
Like, because if Kirk Cousins goes into the season how the Raiders expect him to, right, and he's the starter, if we don't see Fernando, that means we're doing good. Like Ryan said, like the Raiders are doing good, at least competing. Not saying we're perfect, but we don't have to put Fernando Mendoza in there. Kind of like like Alex Smith back in the days when they had Patrick Mahomes. They didn't really see Patrick until year 2, but the only way we do see Fernando is one, if he shows out in training camp and preseason and he shows he's ahead of the curve, or everything's going to shit and by the bye week or something or halfway through the season, Raider fans are over Kirk Cousins and they just want to see the new guy out there. So I think it like in a perfect world, we just rather see. For me, like I said, I'd rather see Fernando Mendoza just sit, learn, prep, and just kind of learn under Kirk Cousins until his number is called. Because we've seen it many times in the NFL where we'll have like top picks, especially at the quarterback position, get thrown into the fire, and most times it's not their fault. It might be the organization, but if they don't come in and they show out right out the gate, like a lot of organizations, they just move on from them in like 2 years or something. And it's like, and you just wasted a pick on them rather than like what Tom Brady stated before, like NFL teams need to go back to what it was before, where you sit these guys behind like veterans and just let them kind of learn the game and stuff like that until their time is ready. And then by that time they should be good. So
I think
like that's my expectations for Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to, what is it, 2018? I think Baker Mayfield was the last guy drafted number 1 overall who didn't start week 1. He ended up starting like week 3. Funny enough, against the Raiders too, but it was his first start, I think. But it is kind of crazy because it's like, okay, you draft a guy number 1 overall in the modern NFL, at least in recent years, like they start. But TJ, to your point, like if you see him early, then that probably means things went to shit, and that's not good. So like,
Yeah,
that is that
that's
weird situation I think that the Raiders are in, because it's like, okay, well, if things are going well, what are you going to pull Kirk out of there and throw the kid out there and be like, okay, hey, make sure you keep it up? So it is a weird situation. I think too, like, depending on, again, how their season ends up going, you know, if they're competing for something, as much as they've said, like, we're not trying to go to the Super Bowl, win double-digit games, whatever this year, or that like the whole quote about like we've got a mountain to climb, not trying to climb it in a day thing. If all of a sudden Kirk's got them winning, okay, that plan changes. And to your point, then no, they're not going to throw him out there. But I'm going to be so interested to see, like, even if they're playing like 500 ball or right under that, you know, right around the bye week or something. If they end up deciding to like throw him out there, because to me, like, I look at it like the first chunk of the season, that first month, that schedule's manageable. So like, if Fernando were to find a way to win the job coming out of camp, you're set up for success. If you do indeed have Kirk starting, which again I think is going to end up being the case, well, okay, now the Raiders can go on kind of a run, but then the schedule gets brutal from weeks like, what is it, 5 all the way to 12, you know, going into the bye week there. And I don't think you want to throw the kid out there in that situation either. So like, as I look at it, I mean, the only time where you could maybe throw it in there is like maybe the game against the Jets. You know, but even then, it's like you still got some tough games against, what is it, the Niners and the Seahawks, I think, after that as well, and Denver. So it is going to be fascinating to watch and see how it happens if indeed Kirk does end up starting, and how they do approach it. You know, because there's always so much pressure of like, play the kid. If Kirk has a game where he throws 3 interceptions, everybody's going to be all over him.
Oh yeah.
You know, all your homies at ESPN, Ryan, they're going to be screaming, "Where's Fernando?" You know, Pat McAfee and all them are going to be going nuts, saying that they need to see Fernando. So that's going to be one thing that's going to be so interesting, is like if they can actually insulate themselves from that noise and stick to the plan.
And I think the only good thing out of this, if they do throw him in there, is fans will give him more of a leeway to have mistakes, especially in year one, like than they would with a Geno Smith or, you know, Jimmy G or something like that. Like if they do throw him in the fire and they feel like the season's not going as planned, like I feel like Raider fans will at least be keen to like giving him the benefit of the doubt for the rest of the season. So at least that's the positive side out of it. But like, I don't want to see Fernando unless he won the job, or unless we're like tanking at the end of the season. But outside of that, that's the, I feel like expectations for him would just be like sitting down in a perfect world, though. But
Ryan, I'm curious your thought on this too, man. Because like what I've been saying is like, I think the only way that Fernando wins the job is if he looks like the second coming of Joe Burrow in practice over the next handful of, you know, weeks there at training camp. Like, because to me, like I've been saying, I think if it's close, in most situations, you go with the rookie, the #1 overall pick, versus the veteran. But I think in this situation, I think they probably go with the vet over the rookie, even if it's close. What do you think? Like, do you think he does need to have that type of showing in order to win it? Like, leave no type of doubt thing? Or is if it's close, do you think that they would lean over to Mendoza first over him?
I think if it's close, they'll still lean to Kirk Cousins. I really do. And I think one thing here, but I think if it's close, that means if it's a close battle and Kirk Cousins does still end up winning it, that means I feel like you're going to see Mendoza sooner rather than later. But yeah, I think if Mendoza wants to be a week 1 start, he really has to show out. Like you said, it's going to have to, he's going to have to light it up each practice, where you're looking at him like, oh my gosh, this guy, he needs to be week 1 because he has a legit shot being offensive rookie of the year. That's the type of what I need to see from Mendoza to make that jump, especially with Kirk Cousins as, you know, in that QB room. Now, if we were in a situation where it was Mendoza and it was just Mendoza and Aiden O'Connell, then yeah, I would say, all right, you go Mendoza, of course. But with Kirk Cousins,
hey, the Aiden O'Connell evangelists out there are going to come for you, man. They're going to come for you after that. There's a lot of them out there.
So, but like with Cousins, like I feel like I think Cousins will still get that slight edge.